broadcasting to you from Seoul, Korea. Once again, we've got another exciting and rather abrupt match to show you guys today. Today, it's going to be two teams battling it out, and then we're going to have a brief break, and then we're going to have another two teams battling out. The format is going to be two one-on-ones, then a 2-on-2, followed up by another one-on-one, and if we go to the fifth game, we will be entering the ace match. So the first team that we're going to be seeing battling it out right now is going to be none other than Seoul. Very excellent team. Has a lot of notable good Zerg players on it. And then on the other side of the ring, I believe we're going to be seeing the CJ, Hanbit Stars. And I think that's going to be a very exciting match to start out with. Again, greetings to everybody out there, all the non-Koreans who are watching. Whether this is live or it's just a VOD, I think we're going to have a bunch of great games coming up here, especially what's up to TeamLiquid.net and GosuGamers.net and, well, all the other StarCraft sites out there. It's been really exciting to be down here in Seoul, Korea. We're going to start focusing a little bit more on the players and the more specific parts of the matches coming up in a little bit. But until then, I just want to say thank you again to our sponsors, the Averatec-Intel, an excellent PC, the #1 selling PC in Asia, in fact. So definitely check out that piece of hardware and help support the whole StarCraft community. Again, it's a real thrill to be down here. As we can see on the bottom of the screen, it will be Seoul versus Hanbit, and then, of course, CJ versus We Make Fox. Now, when we take a look at the previous rankings of all the other pro teams, let's just take a look at last season and how it ended. #1 was Lakav. #2, MBC Hero. #3, CJ. #4, On Game Net Sparkies. #5, Samsung Khan. #6 was We Made Fox. #7, Seoul. #8, Hanbit Stars. #9, KTF. #10, SK Telecom 1. #11, Istro. And at the very bottom of the group, we do have the Air Force team. Not too much of a surprise there. I do think they are much better at flying things than they are at playing StarCraft right now. Unfortunately for them, our players playing here in the lineup, we do have 52Layla, supposed to be a turn versus Terry. He's going to be playing GanZi. I believe that's how you say his name. Next, we're going to have Notice versus Organ, another Terran versus Terry. And then the 2-on-2, Modesty, Creation Top, fighting Nico and Dragoon. So it's another 2-on-2 PvP near matchup here. Then Hero, the player, not the team, don't be confused, playing it up there, and the screen is gone, so I'm going to transition to the next part of this. The first map is going to be Othello. Now, this is one of the new maps in the pro scene. Kespa has released new pro gamer maps, and they do that, I believe, after every season or two, throwing out a few, keeping a few other ones in there, and that's so that the meta game can keep evolving. Players don't get too comfortable with one map and start to figure out too many techniques on it. Once they start to get into their comfort zone, it immediately transitions into another map. And I think that's one of the things that makes StarCraft so great and so competitive, and one of the reasons why the Koreans have such a strong grasp on, of the game StarCraft is because they are forced to transition into more maps than even the foreigner leagues push for. And Othello, that is a really interesting map. It's a 4-player map. In fact, I believe all the new maps that Kespa released were 4-player maps. So I'm curious as to how that's going to impact different openers. You know, a lot of times when they release these one-on-one maps, you do see more rushes or more, I would just say, proxy strategies. Here's the teams coming out now. We're going to introduce them. On the left is Hanbit. On the right is SK Telecom. You might not recognize all of these players, and the reason for that is that these are the newer players that are both on Seoul and Hanbit. In a sense, this is almost like a pre-Pro League match where we're taking a whole bunch of the new players and really, the coaches can, test out their skills see who's playing well under pressure. So these are not the most known players, but at the same time, they are pro gamers nonetheless, and they deserve our utmost respect. I'm really interested in seeing how these games play out. And all right, now we see here's the I believe it's either the sponsor or the coach over there. And I think well, after this little ceremony is done, we're going to get it started. As you can see, they're each going to their desks. It looks like Hanbit is actually the ones who are taking my desk. And I was really sad about that. I'm actually backstage right now. Now we see all the players getting together, and it is indeed the sole coach. And it looks like, yeah, they're just going to do a little, ceremony right before. Get all pumped, put your hands in the middle. And yeah, there they go. There they are taking my desk. I really like that desk. It's too bad it's not mine anymore. And once they get all situated, I believe we're going to have the coaches make a few comments before the matches start. Although generally those comments are pretty ambiguous. They're normally something like, "We have trained hard and we will show you a very good game." You can see that Layla is already in, GanZi might already be in his, actually, sorry, that was Layla. Already in his booth. And that means the game is going to get underway. Taking a look within the on-game screen, we can see that, yeah, indeed, GanZi has already joined. It looks like Layla might actually be testing his mouse out now, or making sure that everything is functioning up to par. There are the Korean casters, all good friends of mine, and all either former pro gamers or former amateurs. And here's the SK Telecom coach. They're probably asking him, what are your anticipations and expectations for this match? We own, and we are going to dominate these noobs. And there's nothing else to it. So get ready.
네, STX 소울팀은 지난 시즌은 약간 아쉬운 성적이었거든요. 안타깝게 포스트 시즌 진출을 못했는데.
Now they're asking the next question.
견연하며 STX는 다시 한번 도약을 한다. 우리 팬들에게 한번 약속을 좀 해주시죠.
네, 저희
Like I said before, we're going to own these guys. No problem. I could beat their entire team 1-on-8 with no monitor. You can't even have 9 people playing StarCraft at once.
기대 이하의 성적이 좀 나오긴 했는데 올해는 선수도 많이 보강이 됐고 그리고 전력도
So basically, that's it. I wish we had a translator. Really, I do, guys.
성적으로 보답드릴 수 있는 그런 모습 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
네, 선수의 역량이 상승되었다. 또 특히나 아주 반가운 말씀이죠. 선수를 보강을 했다는 거.
Now we're getting some more analysis from the Korean casters. Possibly another question.
네, 그렇죠.
Again, the first map, Othello, it's going to be best out of 5 in this series. So we could see a quick clean sweep, one team getting 3-0 on the other one. And now it looks like we're going to talk to the Sparkies guys. Did I just say that? Excuse me. I meant Hanbit. And there's the coach now. How do you expect to do in this match? Considering nobody's heard of the guys in the match, pretty well. And hopefully once these questions get done, we will begin this match. Even though nobody's heard of the players on either teams, my no-name players are still a lot better than their no-name players. So we're going to clean sweep these noobs, mop the floor with them basically. Oh, and the other team is a bunch of clowns. So enough with these questions. Let's get this match underway.
이재경 감독님 하면은 또 선수 육성 전문 감독님 아니겠습니까? 대박 신인을 또 발굴해내는 것.
I also see that Layla has now joined the game.
자, 굵은 전통을 자랑하는 이 두 팀의 경기인 만큼 오늘 경기 더더욱 기대가 되는데요. 자, 그럼 이제 양 팀 만나봤으니까 본격적인 경기 들어가 봐야 되겠죠. 경기 들어가기 앞서서 두 팀의 상대 전적부터 확인해보죠.
And we're about to get it started. No, here's a brief history of the previous team, or the teams themselves, excuse me. Seoul and Hanbit. I'm sorry to say my Korean is not good enough to actually tell you exactly what all those mean. What I can tell you, though, is from last season, these teams were actually ranked very close together. Seoul at 7 and Hanbit at 8. Now, how much does that impact how this will turn out? I'm not too sure, because these are all very new players. In a sense, this is almost like a test match to see how these players perform, so that when the Pro League starts up, the coaches will have a better idea of who they're going to be picking for what in matches that count for KESPA points. And that is one of the main reasons why we do not see some of the more known players playing for each of these teams. So it looks like at this point in time, both players are indeed ready. I do see them saying that they are ready. In the on-game screen, I have two screens in front of me. One is the live one that you see, and the other one is the monitor of the actual observer. So sit tight. We're getting it started. Oh, no, we're not. False alarm. She tricked me. Now we're getting a shot of the players. There is 52Layla. As we can see, versus Terran, he does have a 0-2 record. Fairly new. An overall pro record of what I believe is 1-4. Now that doesn't mean too much. Clearly he's being mentored by the best right now. He's a young spud. He has the potential to develop into a full-blown pro gamer, though. And he will be representing he will be representing his team very soon in the pro leagues as well. Here's GanZi. Don't ask me what a GanZi is. I'm not too sure. His all-time record versus Terran is 0-1, and his overall record is 0-1. So he's only played one pro match. Now, don't take it the wrong way. If you get onto a pro team, you have to be really damn good. But clearly, these are two players who are both very, very new to the whole pro scene. And at the same time, they've been getting trained by the very best. So I'm interested in seeing how they're going to play this out. Remember, these are new maps. Neither player has played on the map Othello, other than in training games, which I'm sure they've trained very hard for over the past week since they were invited to this tournament. And with that being said, we really can't say too much about these players' playing styles. They really haven't seen enough of them to kind of get a feel for, whether they're very aggressive, whether they have powerful macro, whether their strategy is brilliant. Clearly, they have some potential. They have to beat some of the pro gamers on their team just to get on. They have to get recommended by a lot of different pros. The tryout to get on the pro team is very, very strenuous. So I'm really thrilled to be casting these games for these new players. It's a real honor to be down here, and of course, it's a real honor to be casting to you all, wherever you are. And that was not a false alarm. We're starting. And so there we are, getting a shot of our player on Seoul, who is going to be a Terran at the bottom left. And over there at the far right is going to be our other player, GanZi. And as we can see, both players starting at the bottom, so they are sharing this bottom region. We're of course going to see the supply depot, then the barracks, and then the refinery. Standard opening for Terran. Of course, the odds of any type of proxy rush are pretty low on a map like this. Depot put right next to the command center so that he can... oh, in fact, look at this. We're both doing that. Now look at the far right position. We can see that that depot is immediately going to force the SCV at the bottom, the closest to the bottom mineral patch. That SCV will actually mine a little bit faster. It'll force the SCV to go in a straight line. This is just one of those many techniques you can use against StarCraft to get ahead, to get a little bit of a mineral advantage, and that really matters in a game like StarCraft where, you know, economics is everything. So if you ever want to get better at this game and, you know, copy a pro gamer's build, the very placement of the building positioning is a good thing to start on. Looks like the position of this barracks as well will be handy and probably be used to scout the far right spot, considering where it is being built. He'll probably make one Marine, maybe two, before he lifts off. We do not see a barracks out yet for GanZi, indicating that he might be getting the Vespian gas and the barracks out at the same time, or he might be going for a fast command center. And in this case, I think that's a fair guess to make, mining a few minerals because he sent the SCV out early, and then he will make that command center. So, as we can see, two different builds have already started off. Now, what this means is that our blue player, Layla, will have a little bit of a rush advantage. Although he may lift off his barracks before he can make enough Marines to do any type of damage early on with a few Marines, but he can, of course, tech to vultures. One of the problems, though, is that if that rush does not work, or if it proves to be, you know, just not effective enough, the Terran who's fast expanded can gain a massive advantage. Now, remember that this is a location where, and well, in fact, all the expansions that are naturals on this are located in a place where you can be clipped very easily. While a neutral building does block off the cliff region, if you could get a few siege tanks into that cliff area, or just about anything up there, it's going to be very difficult to regain that ground. So I'm curious as to whether or not Layla will go for a fast clipping maneuver. And indeed, one SCV in the Vespian Gas Geyser. This does mean he will be getting a fast command center. And look at the timing of that. GanZi's already transferred his SCVs at the very second that the command center is finished. Now, it looks like the response is to get his own command center up, too. And meanwhile, Layla will be pumping out one vulture. Now, it does not actually look like Layla has found his opponent yet, and he's actually not entirely aware that that's what his opponent's doing, the fast expand. But I do believe that Layla's build will allow for a fast economic recovery. It's not too much of a risky build. The bunker being thrown up, Layla was making a vulture. He could run by that bunker with the vulture. The vulture, of course, cannot actually engage the bunker. So, vulture's on the move now. I'm assuming he's either going to try to sneak by, or do something. He could have possibly even land that barracks in the main. Here he goes with a vulture now, going to try to sneak by. No! I don't know what the story with that was. I do believe the, oh, actually, okay, I see GanZi. GanZi actually made a supply depot right in the spot where the vulture was trying to run through, blocking the vulture off. Vulture gun had to turn around and did manage to get picked off. So that was an excellent move by GanZi. I didn't catch that right at the start until I saw the depot get canceled. But that was a very, very good move. And, sorry, I had to ask for some more water. So right now, GanZi's already in a very good spot right now. Driving the barracks out, if he gets that barracks, this means that Layla will have, will at least be slowed down a little bit in getting factories. And, well, that's going to be bad. So right now, not everything is going right for Layla. 52Layla, to be exact. It looks like a star port is being built, and it is in a position that is very unlikely to be spotted with a scanner. Here comes Layla's tank, continuing to be aggressive. The tank does outrange the bunker. Yeah, there he goes. He puts it in the right position. This will pull a few SCVs and possibly slow down the effectiveness of that fast expand pulled off by GanZi. But GanZi now has his own tank out, and the tank, of course, will withdraw. He has also put a supply depot in that cliff region, just so that if his opponent does try to do anything sneaky, like we were talking about earlier, clipping could be very powerful against a fast expo, that he will in fact be prepared. And an academy and an armory being produced for Layla. I do think the fast academy is a smart decision. He's going to need to get the scan up and figure out how many factories his opponent has. Terrans are much less likely to spread out their factories. And even though smart players generally build the critical buildings in locations which are least likely to be spotted by a scout, such as we see GanZi doing with a star port at the bottom right, once he scans the factories, he'll have a very strong idea of whether or not his opponent, or at least have a stronger idea of what exactly his opponent's doing, because the lack of factories tells as much as the number of factories there. Dropship also out. Now, he could go for a counter cliff move, and I think this would be very smart. And here he goes now. Meanwhile, it looks like Layla's actually ignoring this and instead heading right towards his opponent's base. I do believe that GanZi's attack will prove to be more effective. Here he comes now. And the tanks will now be dropped over here. Now, Layla has to know that this is coming. And now he has some SCVs up there to try to counter this. The SCVs, I'm curious if they're going to be able to do enough damage. He does not seem very intent on microing those tanks around in the dropship. But he will kill those tanks off, or the SCVs off, nonetheless. And it looks like a Goliath is on the move now. He's going to siege that up, and he could reach that Goliath. No, he ended up killing his own tank instead with the splash damage. He will manage to pick this. No, well, okay, yeah, he did manage to save that tank, but meanwhile, more dropships are being produced by GanZi. Now he's going to set up another siege real fast, just trying to get a few more SCVs. All the SCVs count here. And I believe after this tank shot, he will get, yes, a few. With the dropship there as a spotter, he is able to shoot farther than normal. I'm fairly sure that Layla's +1 attack upgrade will finish pretty soon. Wow, this tank has actually got 13 kills now, 14 kills. And Layla is not dealing with this very well at all. Layla does not seem to be playing this very well. Or I should just say playing this out very well. It looks like the game is swinging in GanZi's favor, and even though this evil tank is really inflicting a lot of damage, I'm not sure if well, it looks like he's held off the attack now, but at what cost? He's lost so many SCVs. Meanwhile, surprisingly, GanZi actually has the dropship advantage, which normally does not happen when you fast expand. Normally that's the big disadvantage, that you can get dropped in more locations and can't be quite as offensive until the game develops. So here comes Layla now on the move. Meanwhile, two more dropships, probably full of tanks and Goliaths, heading down towards that expansion. It looks like the bulk of Layla's forces are going to be... Okay, now it's going towards the main. The place that is very difficult for Layla to get to right now. Whoop, now he picks up and gets out. Alright, he's going to move back out now. Maybe he's going to wait for these other dropships to regroup, and yes, he will. And now maybe he's going to move in and crush this... no, he's not. He's going to back out, losing one dropship, and the other one is very close to death. He's on life support. If we can get a shot of the Terran tank, or at least click on him, we'll have a better idea of whether or not he has a +1 attack upgrade. It did look like Layla did get that armory out a little bit faster. The +1 attack upgrade makes a huge difference in Terran versus Terran, especially when you're looking at siege tanks. Both players have about 4 factories. And it looks like GanZi's expanding at the top right. Whoa, hold that thought. Here comes a big push forward by GanZi, and this is going to take out most of Layla's forces with ease. And he has way outnumbered his opponent due to the fact that those SCVs were taken out at Layla's expansion. Layla just not producing fast enough. Meanwhile, Layla trying to throw up an expansion at the most logical and close spot to him. But I do believe it will be run over by GanZi's forces. No, he's going to back off, unsure as to how many tanks his opponent has. And it looks like Layla has also spotted his opponent's command center. That command center put in the wrong position. He's going to have to lift and move that if he wants to mine at 100% efficacy. Sieging up here to contain his opponent. He's going to move around. Layla, I'm not sure how prepared he's going to be for this. He should not have expanded to a location with a cliff, but no, the cliff will remain ignored. He may be going for the other cliff. And clearly this shows how powerful dropships are on Othello. And more pressure being applied now to this expansion. It looks like Layla's sieging up, but I'm not sure if that's actually in range. Maybe the one on the top will be. No, they both were, excuse me. But the siege tank line remains there, and Layla is not pulling his SCVs off, probably cracking under the pressure. No more dropships being pumped out, indicating that we're probably going to see more tanks coming out from GanZi. There's some more tanks right now. GanZi probably aware that he is in incredible control right now. All he has to do is scan there, and he is not scanned there, but I don't think that these tanks of Layla's will be able to hold this off either. Whoever scans who first will get the first shot off. More tanks moving in now. But SCV's coming in there to draw tank fire. And the engineering bay acting as a spotter will make it much easier to pick off the remainder of these tanks. Here he comes again. GanZi moving over to the cliff. An excellent move. Layla should have certainly expanded to another main and not a location with a cliff, considering he was already behind with the dropships. I don't believe we've seen any dropship usage from Layla at all. GanZi is very quickly closing in on his opponent, and Hanbit Stars looks like they're going to get the win this time, while it just looks like Seoul will not come out on top. And whoa, there's a group nap going on by that command center, but I'm sure they'll wake up and start mining pretty soon. There's a steady stream of all tanks. We can assume that the Terran is really focusing on just tanks when you see add-ons on all the factories. However, I don't think it's a wise move for Layla to be doing that, especially because he does not have enough expansions to support a constant tank flow and get dropships. He should have been getting dropships much earlier on. They are still taking that nap. But I guess they can afford to take that break right now. GanZi really taking control of this game. He's done an excellent job since the start, except for the SCVs that aren't doing anything with that one expansion. He's really played this perfectly, even with that baller depot block from the Vulture Bike early on. Clearly a prepared move from him. Looks like Layla's now on the move again, trying to go around the back door at the bottom, but no luck here either, and GanZi has already cut off circulation at that location as well. And unfortunately for GanZi, it looks like he will end up losing this engineering bay. That will give him even less control of the game, especially considering how much dropship usage we are seeing from GanZi. Layla has been beaten down into a corner. He is attempting to expand at the bottom. Here he comes now, trying to rush through the center contain that GanZi has in him. And GanZi will probably have to whip around and come up with something. As we can see, he has managed to muster up a lot of tanks and nothing else without making those dropships. A no man's land has been set up. And not even SCVs will be able to do much over there. I don't know. Okay, he needs to stop setting the SCVs. There's a limbo line of death heading towards those tanks. The science facility is almost done, which means we're about to see the +2 start for the Terran attack upgrades for those tanks of GanZi. GanZi does not, excuse me, Layla does not, in fact, have the +1 attack, though, aboard his tanks. And hopefully we can click on one of these tanks. of, okay, yes, he does have the +1. Man, he read my mind. And with that being said, the +2 is going to start very soon. So Layla will not be able to catch up in upgrades this game either. And it looks like, in fact, he has not managed to take out that contain point, or I should say siege point, in fact, at his base. Hanbit Stars aware that they are probably going to come out with a win in this game at the GOM TV Pro Game Team Exhibition. More SCVs on the move to these expansions. GanZi really, well, no, actually, yeah, you know, I would say GanZi is just doing a perfect job of maintaining this advantage. Again, more dropships on the move, and I don't understand what Layla's plan is exactly with all of these tanks. Granted, the tanks can do an excellent job of taking out these siege points on the cliff. Is it going to be enough? I'm just not sure about that. Here he comes in with the tanks, but he may, in fact, let that command center finish. And oh my gosh, I have just lost vision of what's going on in the game on my monitor. Okay, there we are back now in the game. That was close. I was curious if he was going to let that command center finish. It might have been more wise for him to do that so he could pick it up with a Goliath, but in fact he will not do that, instead forcing Layla to cancel. Here comes Layla on the move with some tanks, but being taken out now. That tank number will lower for Layla. That'll be very bad news for him. And that might even out the tank number, although at this point in time it's very possible for GanZi to in fact be ahead in the tank number. Tanks are of course all over the map, so it's very difficult to make that judgment, but looking at the economy of GanZi, which he has complete control of the entire right side of the map, I believe all the expansions over there, I don't understand how on earth Layla could possibly, you know, outproduce him. Essentially, GanZi is allowed to make more than one mistake and still come out on top. Layla needs a miracle. And indeed, one siege point set up, which is applying pressure onto the expansion of GanZi, but he can afford to not have that expansion mining right now. And here comes GanZi now taking out that contain point and maintaining the advantage. A good game. It looks as though GanZi has won. Excellent play by our player GanZi. And it looks like Layla has unfortunately taken a loss for the team. Probably not feeling that good about that last game. I just believe that the overall technique which was being used by Layla was ineffective. He needed dropships. Granted, dropships are critical in most Terran vs. Terran games. On this map specifically, you really need a lot of dropships because there are so many points where you can really mess up your opponent, and mobility is going to become very difficult. Layla's sticking with those tanks. Clearly do not do that on that map if it's up on iCup already. Once you start playing, I would not recommend doing a strategy such as that one. We're going to have another Terran vs. Terran coming up here very soon. And with that, we're going to be followed up by a brief break. We might have a commercial, I'm not sure. I do have to say, though, I think at the start I wasn't sure how much control GanZi was going to be able to maintain with all those drop ships. He did get that first drop, although I will admit it did look a little bit sloppy on his part. It was certainly sloppier on Layla's behalf in attempting to maintain the advantage. So it looks like, yes, indeed, that set has gone over to... that set has gone over to Seoul, and that's just going to be, it's going to be a tough uphill battle for, Hanbit. Excuse me, that match went to Hanbit, but it's going to be very tough for Seoul to kind of come out on top now. The pressure's really on, and this is another Terran versus Terran. I'm curious as to how our next Seoul Terran player is going to do when compared to the clearly well-practiced Terrans on Hanbit Stars. And taking a look, let me grab this piece of paper over here, see what next possible match is going to be. And it's in Korean, bad news for me. I believe the next map may be Andromeda, but looking at it, what the game name they've made, the map name is also in Korean. it could also be Hills of Storm. In fact, I think there's a very high chance it is Hills of Storm. So we're going to get these next gamers up here pretty soon. They're going to be backstage well, let me put it like this. They're getting their settings ready, and then we're going to get a few shots of them, get a look at the way their history has gone. I'm interested in seeing if it'll be as negative as the previous gamers' history. The GOM TV observers have made the game, so we are now waiting for the players to join. I hope you are enjoying the GOM TV Pro Game Team exhibition as much as I am. We have some great matches coming up today. I cannot say, though, just how impressed. Actually, I should say, I cannot say enough how impressed I was with how much GanZi really started to dominate that game. Not only did he use an excellent job with the dropships, but he managed to maintain an excellent contain for most of the mid to early game to the mid game. And while his opponent, Layla, or 52Layla, did have somewhat of an advantage with all the tanks, Layla was not able to do anything with those tanks because the containment had already been set up. Again, this is Nick Tasteless Platt broadcasting you from Seoul, Korea, and drinking a lot of water as I do it to preserve my throat for you all. This is turning out to be a very exciting series so far. These are all very new players in this event. Very new players to pro gaming itself. Does not mean that they are bad players, but it means that they are not quite as experienced as playing on camera, playing live at major events like this. They all are licensed pro gamers. They have all been chosen to join these awesome pro teams. And here's our first player now. From the team Seoul, his name is Notice. And I believe, from what that says in Korean in the very bottom, in his all-time record, his first Terran record, this is his very first pro gaming match ever. So who knows how this guy's going to play. Clearly he was a top amateur and picked brand new. And here we're taking a look at the Hanbit player, Oregon, with an overall record of 1-2, but his only win on that record is against Terran. So he's accomplished something in Terran versus Terran. This could be very good news for this player. While he does have very little experience at that, Oregon does, Notice has no experience at all, so perhaps that will play in favor for Oregon. I'm not too sure. Both players going over their game plan. And it looks like pretty soon we're going to get this started head-to-head. Notice versus Oregon. Notice on the left, Oregon on the right. And again, it's a real thrill to be down here broadcasting to you. This is the second Terran versus Terran. Remember that, don't give up watching after this game series. We're going to have another, we got many more games to come with Hanbit Stars versus Seoul. But we also have We Made Fox versus CJ, two teams that are both ranked higher than these teams that we're looking at right now. And with that being said, I think we might even see for some more interesting matches. Neither player has joined the game, probably still checking out their settings. But very soon, we're going to see some awesomeness. Looks like my monitor might have gone out again. So I'm not sure if they get... I'm sure they're going to get that fixed in a second. Until then, I think we're going to have... I'm sorry, hold on just one moment, guys. Alright, they got the monitor fixed. Good news for me. That was a little scary. So again, these are all 4-player maps. I don't think we're going to see a proxy factory or a proxy barracks, although it is a possibility. Occasionally we do see these Terrans that are on 4-player maps make the barracks in the middle of the map, and then make 1 to 2 Marines rush with that, and then they do scout around the map with their SCV, lifting the barracks to get the scout in there even earlier. But at the same time, that's a rather risky strategy, because if your opponent does manage to spot that SCV, it could turn out to be very bad news. They could take out that SCV and then kill off your barracks, delaying your factory, and ultimately costing you the game. This is GOM TV, of course, the same people that brought you the GSI. If this is your first time watching an English cast of StarCraft, we do have all the VODs logged on, and that is many games. Even though I've only been down here for about 3 months, I've only been broadcasting with GOM for about a month and a half. We've already done a ton of games. Please feel free to check them out on the GOM website. Seoul versus Hanbit. Seoul last season finishing at 7th. Hanbit Stars finishing at 8th. So clearly, historically, these two teams are very even. We could see a turnaround, and we could see Seoul come back from this. Coming up next after this series, we are going to see CJ versus Fox. CJ was ranked 3. Fox was ranked 6th in the series. Well, I should say by the end of the season. One other great thing about this event is we're going to get to see how some very accomplished players, and even though they don't have real pro gaming records, so to speak, they are very accomplished because they've managed to make it on these pro teams. We're going to get to see how these builds function on these different maps, and I think that's something else to really look forward to. I do believe that this map is Hills of Storm, but we will, again, find out soon enough. I do see Notice has now joined the game. We are still waiting on Oregon. Notice the inexperienced, and by you don't really get much more inexperienced than Notice. Notice, of course, having well, he has no record on the pro gaming scene. This is his first match. It is not a match which goes towards his Kesper rating, but it is a match that will give him the experience he needs to find out how good he's going to be in the future. Here we see Oregon has now joined the game too. Another Terran versus Terran. After this, we have a 2